All right. Wow, Matthew Callaway, super original. So, welcome to Way Out There. And this is a little intro, kind of an experimentation for me to actually try to record some stuff. I've wanted to do a podcast for quite some time. I had a little history on a volleyball podcast, and we'll dive into all kinds of stuff like that as we, go on this journey. But um, it's not necessarily a podcast about anything specific. It's about nothing and everything at the same time. Really a open dialogue kind of experiment for myself, and also just maybe someday there will be a platform and I can have conversations that I think are important to be had, and potentially explore just different ways of looking at things and trying to have more of an open forum and open dialogue that can help us progress as a people. So, I'll have guests on at points in time, just even my friends or anything like that, and we'll just kind of see how the show goes over time. But it's been something I've been like holding off for a really long time. Um, I believe that taking action is really important, but with this podcast, a huge thing for me with it is it's going to just be this honesty online to a degree that I really don't think that many people are honest. Everyone lies here and there for all different kinds of reasons and justifications, whatever you want to say why you did it. But with this, what I'm trying to do and I hope to accomplish at way down the road, it's just got to be I got to be constantly telling the truth here, and I can't understate that like I can't overstate it enough. It, it's gonna probably potentially hurt some people that I know. Things that I just haven't really ever said. Now I'm just saying it publicly and putting it on the internet. So I think a lot of things might come as a shock to people, but I just really like kind of exploring different avenues of thought in so many different topics and directions. So I plan to cover just whatever I feel like covering and just let my brain kind of go on these rants, especially when I'm just recording myself talking. So let me kind of look through some of the notes I had on here. you know, uh, the idea is that I'm trying to add my own original thought and take on stuff. Telling the truth, it's a funny concept because obviously there's like one truth, right? There's one truth, the actual thing that happened. But, people honestly kind of unreliable, and we edit things with our imagination and memory, and we do not have a super reliable memory. So I'm trying to tell the truth from my perspective, the way I saw it, as only I could tell. Just like I can't necessarily tell someone else what they experienced or what they thought. So that's, I think, why people say something like, I need to tell my truth or whatever. And I think really that's just saying, I need to tell my perspective on the situation. And then whether they tell it honestly or not, it's kind of on their conscience at the end of the day. It's I like to think someone's like taking someone at their word is important until they give you reason not to. You can definitely get hurt that way, so you got to be aware of that possibility and potential outcome. So sometimes I think I'm pretty naive and unaware and gullible in that kind of way, that I'll just kind of take someone's word for it, and they don't really mean what they're talking about. But people do that kind of stuff. We all do it here and there. Hmm. Kind of piggybacking off that as well. It's like the my original thought and twist on things. It's kind of funny because people have been around for quite some time. So most thoughts that I could say have pretty much already been thought or said before, and that's just our job as humans is to try to better ourselves and the entire human race. So, um, anything you can do to try to do that, I think is super important. I'm not gonna lie, I just lost my train of thought, but hey, we're gonna roll with it. We'll see if we edit any of this out or not. Um, hmm. A lot of the things that I think I want to discuss is kind of like these morality, philosophical, what's right or wrong, and how can we kind of move forward and through the issue with some sort of level of compromise and just again discussion, because right now I feel like most people are just getting nowhere, and it's my way or the highway, and there's not any kind of compromise, and just the masses of people are being hurt instead of trying to come to some sort of understanding with one another. So, I'm not here to say I know right or wrong, but I think it would be very fun to discuss with a lot of people and try to better and challenge my own ideas. And I'm of course going to come at a lot of people and challenge their ideas as well, so that hopefully we can, again, like kind of refine ourselves as people and challenge what we think is true. And, if you really believe it and you've done the work and it's a conviction for you, then you shouldn't have any problem with someone challenging that belief. If you don't have faith in that belief, then that's probably when you're going to, get upset or offended when someone's challenging what you hold to believe to be true. And obviously there's a respectful way to do things and the disrespectful way to do things. So that can be tied into it. Um, but it just has always kind of bothered me to my core when someone says, hey, um, you shouldn't be asking that. I'm like, well, I just shouldn't be asking you that because I need somebody to help me figure that out. Or just like, let's have fun talking about it. Like, what? We have the ability to freely think. And I think we take that for granted, you know. We're literally probably the only creature on the planet that has the ability to just completely choose free will. And we're, Jordan Peterson said in one of his books that we're kind of like the only species. I hope I don't misquote him or anything, that like intentionally does things to be shitty, like revenge and just, things that just don't help us move forward in a positive way whatsoever. And, I think it's hard to argue that, it does any good to seek revenge. In my opinion, you just perpetuate a cycle of, having someone want to seek revenge again over and over and over again. So, if you don't stop the cycle and just admit, hey, again, two wrongs don't make a right, it doesn't ultimately make you feel better. That's like the big moral dilemma that it's in every movie, and every time it's talked about, it's like, is this, is taking that person out really going to make you feel better? And it's like, ultimately no, and it's not going to bring anybody back or really make any amends. So one of my favorite quotes, I'm a huge anime nerd, and I've been watching One Piece and reading One Piece for a really long time. It's a pirate anime. And one of the villains in it is one of my favorite villains, Doflamingo. He has this great quote. Um, he says, pirates are evil, the Marines are righteous. These terms have always changed. Whoever wins this war becomes justice. And I just think it's so interesting that power does decide justice. It decides what's right or wrong. It pushes the boundaries, and it always changes. So it changes hands and throughout history. I mean, you can just imagine even through World War II, like had different powers won, what the landscape of the world might look like. It's something that would be hard to imagine, but at the end of the day, if Hitler took over or something like that, he's definitely pushing a crazy ideology, and he's going to make everyone kind of bend the knee to that. And who knows how far he could have taken that. So all kinds of moral ideas and dilemmas change, and some things seem to be so permanent in how society feels about it, but more recently, a lot of things have changed, and things that people previously thought maybe was a pretty simple topic. You know, we can't even answer, what is a woman anymore. Matt Walsh did a whole documentary. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. It is, it's not to make anyone feel bad. It's just, seriously, as a society, if we can't ask that question, like what is that? What does that mean? And have dialogue without getting extremely offended and like almost borderline violent back towards the like people who are just like, this was not a complicated question that long ago. And now all of a sudden people are afraid to even answer or consider asking it. So, things are definitely changing as far as ideologies, and the people that are in power have the ability to influence a lot more people than just the average everyday person. So, as you guys can probably notice already, anyone that decides to watch this, it's just, I'm sure it'll change as I get over time. I didn't want to stress about this. I pretty much just set up the most basic thing with the equipment that I do have. And I'm just going to rant and ramble, especially when there's no one else here. So it's going to really be spotty all over the place, especially in the beginning. A lot of just learning here. But I think it's finally time to get out here and talk about this stuff and just see what happens on a personal level and a world level. I'm going to change the world, folks. Believe you me. Something I'm definitely going to want to cover is, honestly, I'll go over kind of some of my background and stuff like that. I don't know how much I want to get into my personal life at first. Because I just don't necessarily want certain things to happen, is all I can say right now. But I definitely want to kind of go over my history and like what made me who I am today. And I'm 29 right now. And I would say maybe 3 years ago, when I was maybe 26 or so, I really started trying to think about like what truly are my values, like what's the most important things to me that truly go beyond just a belief and something that you think is a good idea, but really like truly a conviction. So you have feelings, and feelings turn to thoughts, thoughts turn to beliefs, and then beliefs turns into convictions. And so beliefs can kind of be changed. I really do feel like I'm pretty open-minded to having discussions and having my stance changed, not in like a really willy-nilly way. Like you definitely got to come with, the right arguments and heat. But I've gone back and forth on things like gun control and the death penalty. It really does come down to like, what is the most like logical thing as the way I see it. And if someone comes with something that can really, persuade me, like I'm open to being changed. It's just, some people think, especially because when I was younger, I was very, very stubborn, super hard-headed, to just a ridiculous degree. So, people that maybe know me from then, a lot of times they don't realize how much a person can change. So again, that's why I have to be so honest on the show and really talk about everything that's changed and molded me, and just the way I see it, or the way I can think other people can see it. Like perspective is a massive thing for me, and just being able to shift it or gain someone else's perspective is such a valuable asset to have as a human being. And again, we'll get into this kind of stuff. I've kind of innately or inherently felt a lot of these ideas in like a kind of unexplainable way. And I think part of it's probably just the way my parents raised me, and some of the ideas that my dad had learned along the way just really kind of imprinted on me as I was growing up without me knowing. But as I started reading, Viktor Frankl and, Napoleon Hill and, Jordan Peterson, and kind of really start to expand my mind on these, what does it mean to be a human? What's the meaning of life? And like, how can you better yourself as a person and navigate what can be a pretty difficult thing in life? And, it really was more like I wasn't like learning stuff for the first time necessarily. It was more deeply explained so I could get it on a more deep, like a deeper level. But a lot of it was just reinforcement of what I kind of felt and how I just looked at the world. So, Jordan Peterson, reading that guy, man, I am a big fan. He really is one of the first people that I read where I was like, the way his brain works, he's so good at explaining things so that I can understand it. I'm really just the first go around. So that really drew me to him, as well as just, his ability to stand up for what he believes in. And again, tell the truth. That's one of his 12 rules, is to tell the truth, or at least not lie. So again, a lot of these things will definitely influence me, and I'll try to give credit where credit's due, as far as, quotes and different things of that nature from some of these books that I've read. And just, especially honestly, even in anime, there's a lot of good lessons and things like that. Anyway, went way off track from convictions. So I do want to go over like what my convictions are, my core values. Yesterday, I actually consumed some psilocybin chocolate bars, and I just laid in bed and I wanted to really explore my mind. And I kind of just kept asking, what's really important to me? And even though back when I was 26, 27, 28, and really kind of ironing these out for myself, I recently felt like I kind of lost sight of that stuff. I was kind of feeling dull a little bit again. And I don't know if anyone, if you've used psilocybin responsibly, like, it's definitely something that can produce mystical experiences and like these epiphanies. And, you can really grow if that's what your intention is moving into it. And I think probably the most important rule that I could ever say about it is that you just have to go with the flow. Like, you cannot try to control the situation. So, one of the things that was really reinforced yesterday for me was, just trying to express, this immense gratitude, and also to always be living in the moment. That's part of that control of, if you're worrying about like what's about to be happening, or upset about what just happened, then you continually setting yourself up for failure in the current moment in time, instead of just like being exactly where you're at, fully aware of your surroundings and, the people you're with and what you're doing, and giving your full attention to that. I mean, I cannot stress enough how important that is. So, living in the moment, just experiencing and letting things flow as they are, um, to a degree, of course. And then this intense gratitude. So, a long time ago, I thought about gratitude for all things, the good, the bad, the ugly. I think it's important, if you can find value in even things that were like a really hard lesson to have learned, and sometimes you don't understand that in the moment. And sometimes it takes years and years for you to look back and really get the value from the lesson there. But I think that was a big shift for me in just trying to say, like, there's no negative events in my life, even as much as they might feel like one in the moment. There's always something to be gained from these experiences. Um, this time, however, the gratitude was a lot more like, another big thing, I guess, to say prior to, is the golden rule is like super important to me. To me, I think that's the only way you can outwardly show to the world how you want to be treated, and, unless you're really just being a kind of a piece of shit at the end of the day, like, you want to treat other people well, and you want other people to treat you well. So, I think that's just the best way to kind of navigate your life. So, I really enjoy when someone's grateful for any sort of effort I put into something. It feels really good when someone genuinely, looks you in the eye and just says, "Hey, like, I see what you're putting in, behind the scenes," or just like whenever they notice or admire something that you really have truly kind of put in a lot of time, effort, emotion, whatever it may be. And, someone notices it, it's just such a good feeling, and for a while, I felt like I was showing a lot of gratitude to people in like a deep level. And now, more recently, I felt like I was kind of just avoiding people. I was like, making eye contact, walking down the street. I'm not sure what that was all about. So, that's kind of why I was like, I think it's time to kind of do a little reboot and soul searching. So, being able to have some moments during this trip where I could just feel this like intense appreciation for what some people had, done for me, or, what they decided to do. One of my best friends, Nolan, he's been working on becoming a music producer for, like a little over a year, I'd say. But the progressions he's made, I mean, he sent me a song and I couldn't believe that he was already at the skill level to produce a song that was that good. He produces EDM. I'm not sure if I just said that or not, but I was listening to like a playlist I made specifically for tripping, and I had to literally double check and like make sure it wasn't LS Dream or somebody that, whose song I was listening to. And sure enough, I checked 3-4 times, and I had to listen to it over and over. I was like, wow, the amount of work and just dedication it takes to like stare at a computer and learn these programs and build a song, both, from beginning to end, but also, layers and layers deep with all these different notes and getting them to somehow sound good in people's ear. The amount of work and dedication it takes to really get to that point. He's put in an immense amount of it. And him sending me that song and kind of putting himself out there, it was just like a beautiful thing for me. So I wanted to show him a lot of appreciation for that. And I think that's something that you could just go through life and just do the small things, just saying thank you. Again, appreciating anything that someone does for you, it passes it on tenfold, and you just don't know like what people are going through and how much it means to them. How much effort does it really take to, like, you're already doing the act, right? You're checking out at the grocery store, like, why not just like have a good conversation with somebody, like, or read the room. Obviously, if someone's really just seems like they're struggling, like, you got to feel it in the moment. I think you can kind of feel people's energies. And, if someone really is not taking any bait and seems like they don't want to be talking, then maybe you can leave it alone. Or if you feel called to, for some reason, to just, double down, just say, hey, like, are you okay? A lot of people say, hey, how's it going? Oh, it's good. And it's like, no one ever means, hey, how's it going? Or, hey, oh, I'm good. How are you doing? And no one, almost no one even answers. It's a greeting. And honestly, I never really understood that. So sometimes, you can see it on someone's face when they walk in to a building or whatever. And, they just kind of look down. And it's like, you can kind of decide in that moment if you want to try to give them a little bit of your energy to, check in on them and see how they're doing. So I can't tell you how many times I would just double down. Hey, how's it going today? Oh, I'm good. Really, how are you doing though? Like, how have things been? And then have someone actually kind of divulge, like what's been weighing them down, and being able to kind of lift them up a little bit. Not to have a savior complex or anything like that, but it's just, when people do that for me, again, I've really appreciated it. So it's like trying to pass that on and just have human experiences with other humans, and trying to be friendly and be understanding and loving, thing like that. Like, to me, there's no doubt about it. Like, that's the best way to be trying to operate and live your life. So I'll get into a lot more of those kind of convictions and things like that. Let me see here. We've been talking for 23 minutes or so. So, I mean, something I'm going to address, like, just right out the gate is, I really feel that I'm a self-diagnosed. I think logically, looking at the evidence and just being able to talk in this community, I think I'm on the spectrum in some way with autism. And people can either call you highly functioning or, neurodivergent or anything like that. But I think after having just like read a lot of experiences of other people with this this condition, or whatever you want to call it, honestly, some people get really upset when, you say it's a gift or something. But for me, for myself personally, the way I look at it is that I feel like it's a gift. I feel like just the way everything's lined up and happened, to me, it's a gift, because I think I think about a lot of things just very differently. And honestly, like maybe that's just a silly statement because we all probably think about things quite differently. But I just mean for sure growing up and even, as being a young adult and just really getting to talk to other young adults and, growing up a little bit, uh, I just realized that like a lot of times I feel like when I'm explaining something or talking about something, I'm just not feeling that very understood. And I also felt like when people would probably be trying to explain things to me, like I was probably missing their point as well. And it's like, okay, like something's going on here where I'm processing and thinking at a different angle than like the majority of the people I'm speaking with, and I didn't realize, forever probably that a lot of these people are actually able to converse pretty and they're kind of on the same page, but I'm not on the same page as they are. I'm like questioning why are some things kind of like operating the way they are and things of that nature. So, it's not super important. I just thought it was something that, I kind of like stumbled upon the idea and possibility when I was around, again, like 20, 26, 25, 27. And I just kind of was like, yeah, no, I think this is probably something that I've been dealing with and just didn't really know. I'm honestly really grateful that, like I don't know if my parents ever were told or had been considered that or anything like that, but them raising me as if that was not something that I like, was dealing with, it helped me just, no one ever had any pity for me or anything like that. I don't know if that's what would have happened, but it just helped me to understand and like be able to navigate the real world, I think pretty well. I think my parents did a good job of raising me, I guess, is long story short. So again, it's not super important. It's not like this huge thing in my identity. It doesn't really mean, I can or can't do anything in particular. But I just think the way I look at things is very different than the typical person. I also think that I'm pretty like sensitive or hyper aware of the of like how other people might be looking at things now. Cause again, it's just like how I've had to be molded throughout my life. I'm not understanding people, not understanding people. I'm like, okay, how are they possibly seeing the situation? I got to go through, maybe they're looking at this, maybe they're looking at this, maybe they're looking at it. So, going through all these different scenarios and trying to understand people, now it's really got me to have almost like a knack for being able to put myself in someone else's shoes or just try to justify a situation for them, not to make an excuse or anything of that, but just, trying to come from a place of understanding, because without someone feeling understood, there's just not much hope for change or moving forward, you know? So I think trying to kind of look through the different angles, things like that, is going to be a big part of what I'm doing on the show. It's going to piss people off. It's going to make other people think, and it's going to, probably, push people to change in some ways, but obviously it's going to come down to them at the end of the day if they want to change or not. All right. Well, coming up on 28 minutes. I have no idea if I'm going to edit any of this or if I'm just going to upload it and just give it a go. I think I might edit and clip down some stuff for more of the YouTube content rather. You can check out my Instagram page. I am at the.Callaway. Pretty sure. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. I'm wasting time. Yeah, that's right. Yes, my life coaching page is at the.Callaway. So, I haven't posted on there in quite a while. I've actually been off social media for like almost a year. But obviously I'm going to have to get reintroduced to all that and get into the habit of posting. I am looking to actually do life coaching one-on-one. So working on getting my website up. You can email me at try.callaway@gmail.com if you want to set up a 30-minute to an hour one-on-one introduction call to kind of just discuss like if you see any benefits to life coaching and potentially, signing up for a 6-month or 12-month course, those will be the options there. Weekly, accountability and check-ins. We'd have, pretty open communication so that we can help you get some improvements done. So yeah, a lot of my, I don't think I want to take too many sponsors unless it's somebody that, I really like the product or anything like that. I want to be able to really say anything I want, within reason. Again, I'm not trying to offend anybody or hurt anyone's feelings or anything of that nature. It's going to happen, no matter what I say, someone on the planet's going to get pissed off about it. There's just no way to please everybody. But I'm going to plug myself a lot. There's an affiliate program that my dad and I are in that is called the Think and Grow Rich Community. If you haven't read that book, it's a phenomenal book for anyone that's looking to be an entrepreneur or really just try to excel and kind of create some wealth. Honestly, I think the title kind of does it a little bit of a disservice. It seems so money centered, but really it's growing rich in all kind of assets of life. A brief explanation of that, as well as that Napoleon Hill, he basically was given an option. Hey, do you want to kind of go around the world and talk to all of the most successful people and figure out why they're all so successful? Like, what are the commonalities, and really try to come down to a science of what you need to do in almost a foolproof manner to get exactly what it is that you're looking for out of life. And, it's a lot of manifestation and positive thought like that. Many people get manifestation wrong and they make fun of it. Oh, if I just think about it, it's like, that's just one aspect of it. And it's not so easy to control your thoughts and emotions and, stay on the path. Especially in today's day and age, there's a lot of distractions and things like that. So anyway, it's a course that you can buy into where they go over all the principles with Bob Proctor. He's just passed away, but he was a phenomenal businessman, and he very much studied and understood the principles in Napoleon Hill's book for success. And he has helped hundreds of thousands, probably millions of people around the world to create their own wealth, again, by using these principles. So buying into the program, again, you get basically the best kind of training for it. And then you become an affiliate as well, where you can also pass on the program to other people. So that's something that I'll definitely be talking about. My buddy Nolan, he is Planet Kyanite. It's PlanetKyanite. That is his, his DJ name or producing name, whatever you want to call it. So that's going to be on Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, all those platforms. He's going to be on there. So he's just making awesome music. I'm going to have him do, my intro, outro, transitions on here. So you guys will kind of see that stuff. So definitely I'll be plugging him all the time as well. And, I think, big picture, I really do believe that, I believe there's like the surplus mentality. Like, there's really enough at this point for everyone to kind of have, what really what they want. Like, I do think there's enough resources, and it's the scarcity of resources, I think, is not necessarily a myth. It's just like, it's a topic for another day. We'll definitely get into that. But I want to elevate and lift a lot of other people up. I think everything genuinely could be better. Of course, there's no such thing as perfection, so we could always be striving for greatness and for better. I think there's a lot of areas of stagnation that need to be improved. So, again, it's a huge part of what I hope to accomplish in the show, and, tackle ideas and try to just get us to be, as a species, literally the human race, one species, just to be a little bit more on the same page. Again, I'm naive. I'm, an idealist or whatever you want to call it. And it's, I just believe that can change. And I said, I'm going to change the world, and is in any way I can. And the largest impact I can have, great. But, I think it needs some good changes, and a lot of that is just collaboration and trying to get people to be understood on the same page. A lot of stuff, it seems to be, has been just powered by fear and manipulation lately. So if we can try to get a hold on that and show people that there's a little bit more of a light, in their own life, there is a way out of the situation that they're in. And, most cases, there's always a way that you can kind of figure out how to better your life. There's definitely mistakes can be made that put you in a really tough situation, but, you know, that's what I want to help people do, is basically to just find a way out and to help them, find some meaning in their life, because there's not a meaning to life for all people. It's just, you got to find what gives you meaning as an individual. And that's different for everybody. I think everyone has an opportunity to be great at something. Whatever you are passionate about, you can definitely do to a larger degree. It gives you more drive to get it done and actually take action, which is, if you don't take action, then you're not even going to get started. And then consistency and persistence, I think, are the next two things that you got to string together. If you continue to do it with diligence over a long duration of time, the improvements are certain to happen. And if you're not seeing improvements, then that means that there's a step you're missing along the way as far as the progression goes. So anyway, man, it's been awesome, everybody. Let's see if I can slap this together. Hopefully it turned out all right. I'm going to have to listen to it back, edit some of it up, which I've been dreading, to be honest, but we're going to get through it anyway. And we will see you on the first episode of Way Out There, because this was just the intro. All right.